Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of GTV. Together with me today is another female founder here in the Philippines. I'll introduce Sheila first before I turn it over to her. So Sheila Fuentes is the CEO and co-founder of Silo. It was formerly Fourth Co. So I knew her when her company was called Fourth Core. And it's a circular fashion collective which aims to close the loop and transform fashion in full circle, and currently the brands and producers coordinator of Fashion Revolution Philippines. So today, as you can see, Sheila is in the fashion industry and we'll be talking about sustainable fashion. So hi Sheila, thank you for guesting in my show.
Hi, Ginger. Hello, everyone. Thank you also for inviting me.
Yeah, so I really thought about you when I wanted to talk about sustainable fashion. So maybe Sheila, just as a starting point, let's tell them about sustainable fashion, what it is about.
Yeah, sustainable fashion for me, in simple term, is being stylish without harming the environment and people. So it's a fashion wherein we promote better industry. We're not harming and creating a negative impact in the environment and the planet, and also taking care of the people who are working in this industry.
Okay, so why is it important, Sheila? Why is there so much talk about sustainable fashion now when before naman we really didn't talk about this topic?
Yeah, well, I just also discovered, I think 2 years ago, that fashion industry is one of the most polluting industry in the world. Some said it is the second next to oil, but some said it's third. But the thing is, and the fact is, the fashion is one of the most polluting industry in the world. And aside from that, I also discovered that a lot of people who are working in the fashion industry, especially who are working in the manufacturing sector, are not being treated properly. They have below minimum wage,
Mm.
um, and then they don't have, like, most of them don't have a safe working environment, and so on. So there are actually a lot of problems in the fashion industry, and it's just now that people are seeing already the problem, and we are already aware what the problem is. And now a lot of people, I think, are joining the movement for us to correct the past mistakes in the industry.
So Sheila, when you say about polluting the environment, is this true also here in the Philippines, and even with the jobs that you mentioned?
Yeah, it's true here also in the Philippines. In terms of, I think, when I say fast fashion,
Yeah.
it's a fashion, a consumption pattern wherein we tend to buy a lot of fashion items, even if we don't need it, right? When the social media surged, a lot of people are taking photos of their outfits, like doing OOTD photos and so on. And it's true also here in the Philippines, and a lot of like consumers now are buying different clothes, different styles every now and then,
Yes.
and it will actually affect the environment in terms of textile waste. And because we're buying so much from these fast fashion companies, they are also producing a lot, and then in return they are also producing a lot of waste, right?
Okay.
And when we say waste, it could be waste from fabric cutting, right? When we do, like, the design, it's technical, but when we manufacture a clothes, there will always be an excess
Yeah.
fabric, right? Because we do patterns and so on, and we cut them, and then the small, tiny excess,
Yeah.
when we combine all of those, how much waste will be here in Earth, right? So it could uh, affect in the environment in terms of that one. And then also, a lot of the clothes that we are seeing in the fast fashion companies are made out of polyester.
Okay.
And polyester meaning it's also a material used to produce plastic. And then when we wash those clothes, um, it will create, like, it will have a microplastic
Okay.
component, which will be uh, go directly into the water, ocean, river, and so on. And in return, it will be eaten by fish, by sea creatures, and so on.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, there are actually a lot. It might be technical if we will discuss everything, but those are some of the negative impacts that we
Yes.
are currently actually seeing in the fashion industry.
Maybe Sheila, I want to ask you, like, how did you discover this advocacy for yourself, and what really hooked you to sort of spread this advocacy?
Well, I discovered through Fashion Revolution, USA. So I'm also like a shopaholic before. So I do contents, OOTD contents, and I'm guilty of that. And then when I'm scrolling my Instagram, I think, yeah, 2.5 years ago, I discovered the account of Fashion Revolution,
Okay.
the main account, and then they're teaching, like they're creating educational contents about sustainable fashion, eco-friendly fashion, and most importantly, what made me hooked to join the movement is the I think the True Cost documentary,
Okay.
wherein it
Was
shows,
it called?
yeah,
What
it's a True Cost.
true cost? Okay.
Yeah, it's available in Netflix if you want to watch it, but I highly recommend you to watch it. So in that documentary film, uh, they're featuring stories, actual stories
Mm,
of a garment worker in Bangladesh.
okay.
And one of the tragedy happened in Rana Plaza building when it collapsed and 1,000 people killed
Oh
in
no.
one, like in few minutes. It collapsed, the whole building collapsed, and a lot of people were killed. And on that documentary it showed how um, that impacted the life of a garment worker. And there are so much stories told about how they're being treated in a garment factory and so on. And
Yeah.
I said, when I watch it, I won't shop anymore in the fast fashion companies because of that
Mm,
scenario. Like, it's inhumane
yeah.
to build a business, a profitable business, but then in return we are like destroying the lives of the people who are actually making the clothes that we
Yes.
wear. So that made me really support the advocacy. And I also have a clothing shop before. I immediately stopped it, and we said, I told my co-founders to shift to sustainable fashion, and that is when my journey began.
Wow, that's so interesting. So in terms of like I mean, I see that you're very young. Like how can we help in this advocacy of yours? Like how can people start promoting sustainable fashion?
I think what I can really advise is to educate yourself first about sustainable fashion. There are a lot of resources, and the easiest way actually to educate yourself is to follow accounts, organizations who are actively promoting sustainable fashion, especially Fashion Revolution, Remake, CELO, and a lot more. So you will be able to see, this is actually what my consumption behavior is doing, is impacting the environment and the people. And then from there, you will realize that I need to change myself as well, my consumption habits, my mindset, and so on. And the next is, I highly encourage everyone to think before they shop.
Mhm.
For example, you really don't need to shop a lot of clothing items,
Yes.
a lot of fashion items if you don't really need it. But then if you will need to shop for a clothing item, for example, think about how or what is this brand doing. Are they ethical? Are they producing eco-friendly fashion items and so on? But my advice for us, especially here in the Philippines, I
Yeah.
think it's best always to shop locally, support those small fashion businesses, but then see also if they are like doing ethical practices in terms of manufacturing. A lot of small businesses, fashion brands nowadays, I think are very vocal about how they manufacture things, and if they're really actively promoting sustainable fashion, eco-friendly
Yeah.
fashion, they always tell also the customers that this is how we do it. We are taking care of our people and so on. So you will see it, actually. You will see it in their contents in social media or in websites. So just think before you buy something.
Yeah.
And then third is to encourage your friends, your colleagues, your family to join the movement as well. But then that's where education will be very important, because you can really encourage people to join the movement um, if you if you don't know yourself what is happening. So in order for us to genuinely, authentically share the word to people and invite people to join the movement, educate yourself constantly. It will be, I think, very hard for a beginner to shift to this consumption habit and into sustainable practices, but you just really need to start now, as in now,
Yeah.
and think of ways of how you can simplify your shift to sustainable practices, and don't I think overthink also,
Yeah.
and don't be a perfectionist because people are, I'm seeing a lot of like some people like bashing other people who are doing sustainable practices just because they're not doing it perfectly. But then what we need right now is a million and a more people doing it imperfectly. At least we are starting now instead of waiting for others to do it perfectly.
Yeah.
So that way we can like scale the impact, the positive impact faster, and encourage more people to join.
Yeah, Sheila, I'm curious to know, like you mentioned, like let's support the small businesses here who are promoting sustainable fashion. I just
Mhm.
want to know, like as a shopper, obviously I need like different choices. How many stores or are there a lot of stores here in the Philippines that we can buy from? And also in terms of the price point, because you mentioned like polyester is an ingredient or is a material, material that you should sort of stay away from because it likens plastic. So, in terms of the price point versus the usual clothes that we buy, how is it is it different or is it just the same?
Yeah, for sustainable fashion products, generally it is more expensive than the fast fashion because of course, most of them are ethically producing things, meaning they pay their workers properly,
Yes.
minimum wage or above, so it will be reflected on the cost as well of their products. But then there are also like sustainable fashion brands who are producing and selling affordable, relatively affordable items. They use this excess fabrics or rejected fabrics from factories. So instead of them throwing away those roll of fabrics, they get it and then create pieces of like fashion items out of it. But then they're ensuring that their workers are being paid well. But in that case, it is more um, like cheaper compared to other sustainable fashion products. For those brands who are very like actively using eco-friendly materials, it is
Correct.
definitely way expensive. But then one thing that I suggest also is to check the quality and ensure that what we are buying will be used for a longer period of time.
Oh,
When
okay.
you think of that way, like we call, there's a term called cost per use.
Yes.
So even if, for example, you buy a 2000 organic t-shirt, but
Correct.
then you will be able to use it how many times? Maybe
Got
5 years or more, right? Because it has a good quality. When you think about cost per wear, it's really cheaper compared to fast fashion, because and when you buy fast fashion items, it will just, you know, tear away, break easily, and so on. But
correct.
when you have a very good quality product, you will be able to wear it for a long period of time. So when you think about that, it's actually cheaper.
Yeah. So for this pandemic, Sheila, I'm assuming that not a lot of people go out right now. So
Yeah.
has it helped the environment in a way? Like like for example, in my case, I just use like certain number of clothes that I have here. I don't buy anymore because I just stay at home. Is it Do you see the same trend happening all over the world, and how is it helping?
Yeah, definitely. It affected the fashion industry in general. Sales were low. People are not really buying. But in at the good side, um, yeah, it helped actually the environment because the brands actually are not producing a lot anymore now.
Yeah. So yeah,
So they are, well, actually, a lot of brands all over the world are now bringing in sustainability as the core business
yeah,
model instead of just sustainability being a marketing strategy or not really a core part of their business. Now they're really thinking they need to produce sustainably.
yeah,
So this pandemic is an eye opener also for fashion industry. And the good thing is a lot of people in the fashion industry, a lot of brands, even the big brands, fashion brands, are now talking about sustainability frequently.
okay,
So they're like creating ways on how they can produce fashion items which don't or lessen the negative impact on the environment, and so on. And a lot of them, especially the big brands, are now thinking of producing new technologies to promote sustainability in fashion industry. So that's the good side.
yeah, that's great. So you're mentioning that the trend will probably be more focused on being environmentally friendly, being sustainable, etc. So that's actually a positive for the fashion industry. So Sheila, let's go to like mindset. I'm
Mm.
assuming that a lot of people, when they hear this particular problem, they sort of like just diss it away, right? Because it's not like one of the major problems that we have. Well, seemingly not one of the major problems that we have, because we have like uh, poverty, we have food to think about, right? So as a young female entrepreneur, how do you change that mindset? How did you start like building this community, helping people understand all of these things? And yeah, how do you actually change the mindset of people?
Yeah, the best way actually to do it is to educate them, re-educate them, and show them the problem, because they think that this is not a major problem
Yeah,
because they're not seeing what's really happening behind the luxury side of fashion, right? When we say fashion, it's more of being stylish. We think of those glamorous fashion shows and so on.
yeah,
And we don't really see what's really happening, what's actually happening behind who are making our clothes. And one way of like for us, one way of like spreading the word and educating people also is to showcase the documentary films out there who
yeah,
are showing the lives of the garment workers, for example, and documentary showing the negative impacts of fashion industry, what's really happening out there, and then an actual scene.
mm-mm,
So it's a way of awakening the people and showing them this is what really happening. And when they see that, their mindset also changes. Not instantly, but
yeah,
they're now aware of the problem, and now they will be more interested to learn more about it. And that's when we teach more about, like, educate them more about sustainable fashion. How can they shift? How can they help, and so on.
so let's talk about the business side of it, Sheila. Like as a female founder, what challenges have you encountered like along the way when you were building your business?
One of the main challenges, actually, especially here in the Philippines, is to reach out to those consumers, because a lot of consumers still are shopping from fast fashion brands, and it's really hard to encourage them
Yeah,
to shift to sustainable fashion. But then one thing we realize and see and observe for a year is that a lot of millennials here in the Philippines are now aware, and they're very interested to learn more about sustainable fashion. And we ask them like how they were able to see that, how they were able to become interested about sustainable fashion.
yeah.
They just see it in the internet.
Okay.
So it's very interesting. And although it's challenging to really educate the masses
Yeah.
because of course fashion is still not like an essential item, so it's not one of the priorities in terms of providing solutions, problems, and so on. So that's one of the challenges. And second challenge is that we don't have enough resources here in the Philippines to produce eco-friendly fabrics, although the government is now like, especially PTRI,
Yeah.
under DOS, is now creating eco-friendly fabrics locally, but it's not enough
Yeah.
and it's still expensive. So for example, a lot of designers, aspiring entrepreneurs are asking us how to start a sustainable fashion brand.
Yeah.
One of the common challenge actually is where they can source eco-friendly
Oh,
fabrics.
fabrics.
So it's not really readily available yet here in the Philippines, and we can just like shop for and buy sustainable fabrics from other countries.
Okay.
So it's one of the challenge because when we buy from those manufacturers outside the country, of course they will have high minimum quantity
Correct.
for your purchase and so on. So that's what actually we're also thinking about how we can address that and really help those small aspiring founders or existing entrepreneurs, but then who would want to shift to sustainable fashion brand.
Wow, I learned so many things during this call with you, Sheila. Like I had no clue that that's a problem. Like the fabrics, we can't source a lot of fabrics, and then education is a key thing. I hope that the schools or fashion schools here teach more about these stuff to their students, and also the government. Maybe we can, like the government can take a look at this industry and see how they can help. So for the last question, Sheila, like what are your tips for young female founders that you can give?
Well, number one, you just really have to follow your heart. If you thinking of like creating and launching your sustainable fashion brand, just do it and don't overthink about I need to be perfect, for example. I need to be perfect before I can launch my product and so on. Just don't overthink and find the simplest way for you to start.
Mm.
And the second thing is really identify your ideal customers. Who are your customers? What is your niche? Who do you want to serve? And then before you create a product, before you create or manufacture products, create service, offers, really talk to your customers and identify what they want, what they need, what are their challenges, and think of how your brand can solve those challenges. That applies also to fashion industry for a sustainable fashion brand. So before you create massive like a large amount of quantity of your product, your t-shirt, for example, think about your customer first. Will they buy it? Especially during this pandemic, that people are not actually buying a lot of fashion items anymore. So just talk to them before you spend a lot of time, money, effort, and identify how your brand can really address their problems, their concerns, and how you can help them. And then third, just enjoy. Just enjoy the process because entrepreneurship is very, very hard journey. I mean, challenging. Even if you're very passionate about what you're doing, it will be very challenging along the way. But my tip is really just to enjoy the process and trust the process and be confident that you can do it.
Wow, Sheila, very inspiring tips for the young female aspiring founders out there. So, for those who don't know, Sheila is also my batchmate in Ashoka Philippines for this first batch, right? So, Sheila, you may want to invite them to check out Silo, and we'll share the links in the comment section below. But maybe you can
Yeah.
mention it.
Yeah, you can follow our Instagram account. It's at Silo, C___. So that's three underscore
Mhm.
law. And then you can also check out our Facebook page. It's Silo Circular Fashion Collective. And also you can join our Facebook group. It's called Sustainable Fashion PH. And we will be relaunching our website very, very soon in time for the holiday. Just check out www.c law.co.
Okay, so we will put all of the links in the show notes below. So thank you, Sheila, for guesting today. And I learned so much about sustainable fashion. So for our viewers out there, if you like this video, kindly like, share, subscribe, and click on that notification bell for more videos like this. Again, this is Ginger. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.